We live in a world obsessed with visibility. Social media feeds are filled with curated wins, filtered success stories, and public declarations of every minor achievement. Somewhere along the way, we've been conditioned to believe that if we're not broadcasting our progress, it doesn't count. But that's why, in fact, some of the most powerful growth happens quietly behind the scenes. In the shadows, when no one's watching, that's where real character is built. That's where leadership is born, and that's where success truly begins. Not with external recognition, but with internal focus. The people who create the most meaningful impact aren't the ones who shout the loudest. They're the ones who know why they're doing what they're doing. They aren't motivated by applause. They're driven by purpose, and that purpose becomes their compass, especially when no one else is watching, applauding, or even understanding what they're trying to build. These people don't need to announce their intentions because their why is loud enough to guide every decision they make. The journey of success, real fulfilling success, starts not by looking around, but by looking within. It's easy to get distracted by what others are doing. It's tempting to compare your pace to someone else's highlight reel, but focus is not about tunnel vision. It's about intentional vision. It's about being so deeply rooted in your reason for doing something that external noise doesn't shake your internal compass. When you know your why, you stop trying to prove yourself to others. You stop running after recognition and start walking steadily toward a destination that matters to you. You begin to define success differently, not by how many people are watching, but by how aligned you feel with what you're building. And here's something counterintuitive: when you stop focusing on being seen, you actually start becoming more visible, not in the artificial shout for attention way, but in the organic, magnetic way. People are drawn to clarity. They're inspired by consistency. They trust those who operate with integrity and alignment. Don't have to scream to be heard if what you're doing resonates on its own frequency, but getting to that place requires something many avoid: silence, stillness, discomfort. We often avoid these things because we confuse them with weakness. But silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. When you remove the external distractions, the need to prove, to pose, to impress, you're left with only one voice, your own. And for many, that's terrifying because that voice asks the hard questions. Why are you really doing this? Who are you trying to impress? Are you building something that matters to you or something that just looks good on paper? The truth is, most people don't slow down long enough to listen. They're too busy running, climbing, broadcasting. But those who pause, those who sit in the stillness and reflect, those are the ones who find the truth. And from that truth, they find direction. That direction becomes focus, and that focus becomes fuel. You don't need to focus on being loud. Focus on being clear, clear in your values, clear in your mission, clear in your boundaries. Because when your actions align with your beliefs, you build something stronger than applause. You build trust, and that trust starts with yourself. You start to trust your own process even when others don't understand it. You trust your decisions even when they're unpopular. You trust your path even when it doesn't look like anyone else's. That's the beauty of internal focus. It frees you from the need for external validation. But none of this happens overnight. Focus is a daily practice. It's choosing to return to your values when it's easier to follow the crowd. It's choosing to work on your craft when no one is clapping. It's choosing to be honest with yourself about what matters and what doesn't. And yes, it's lonely sometimes. There's a cost to choosing internal alignment over external attention, but there's also a reward, a deeper kind of success. The kind of success that doesn't just impress others, but fulfills you, because eventually the results speak. The work you've done in silence becomes visible. Not because you shouted it into existence, but because consistency always becomes undeniable. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. Let your actions do that. Let your consistency do that. Let your integrity do that. And let your results do that. The most powerful message you can ever send is one you don't have to say yourself. That's what it means to let your success talk. So when you feel tempted to chase recognition, pause, ask yourself why, ask yourself what you're really trying to prove, and then shift that energy inward. Pour it into the habits that matter, into the values you believe in, into the mission you quietly carry forward. Success isn't a performance. It's a reflection of values, of purpose, daily choices, and those who focus on building rather than boasting are the ones who change the world, not because they demanded attention, but because they earned respect. Let others talk, let others watch you. Focused, stay grounded, stay true, build something so real, so valuable, so aligned that it doesn't need words. Let the work speak. Let the mission speak. Let the success speak. Because when you focus on yourself, you give your success the space to echo, and the echo of real, meaningful success always speaks louder than self-promotion. Ever could, we're taught from an early age that we must speak up to be seen, that if we don't make noise, no one will notice, but that belief overlooks something critical. The value of quiet strength in a culture where shouting gets attention and declarations are mistaken for achievement. Silence, wrongly assumed to be weakness. But silence, when rooted in purpose, is a sign of discipline. It's not about withholding, it's about choosing action over announcement. You see, we live in a time when many people mistake visibility for progress. They confuse talking about a goal with actually achieving it. We tell others what we're going to do, how big our plans are, how soon we'll make them happen. And in doing so, we sometimes give ourselves the illusion that we've already done the work. But saying the words isn't the same as doing the work. Promising something isn't the same as delivering it. And those who truly lead, those who truly create lasting success, understand this deeply. They don't rush to broadcast what they're building. They don't need to. They trust the process enough to keep their head down and focus because they know that results will always outlast the noise talking. Might create a spark, but it's consistent execution that builds a fire. Real confidence is quiet. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't seek approval or applause. It doesn't need an audience. It just needs a reason when you have a reason. Strong enough, a mission, a vision, a deep personal why. You no longer feel the need to constantly explain yourself. You become grounded in what you're doing, even if others don't see it yet. And that's where the shift happens. When you start focusing on your discipline, instead of your declarations, your results start to speak louder than any words you could ever use. They tell a story of commitment, of resilience, of long nights and early mornings, of effort no one witnessed, but everyone benefits from. People often confuse being loud with being strong, but strength isn't always loud. Think of a tree. It doesn't grow by shouting into the sky. It grows by sinking its roots deep into the ground, quietly, steadily, patiently, and in time, it becomes something unshakable. Your life, your work, your mission need that same kind of quiet strength. The hardest part is resisting the urge to prove yourself. We all want to be recognized. We all want someone to say, "I see you." But when you understand that the most meaningful validation comes not from being seen, but from being effective, you stop needing to announce every step. You start trusting that your time will come, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. There's a unique kind of power in doing the work when no one is watching and choosing to be excellent. Not because someone expects it, but because that's who you are. The people who become truly great at what they do don't get there by constantly promoting their progress. They get there by making their progress inevitable, and that's what silence allows. It gives you the space to think clearly, to refine your craft, to fail in private, to grow without judgment. It gives you freedom, not from pressure, but from performance. When you're not trying to impress others, you're finally able to focus on what really matters. Making something that lasts. That doesn't mean you never share your vision. It doesn't mean you hide forever. It doesn't mean that you can't be. It means you prioritize doing the work before talking about the work. It means you don't let the hunger for attention distract you from this discipline that's required to build something meaningful. And when the time is right, when the product is complete, the project is launched, the vision is realized, people will take notice, not because you ask them to, but because success has a way of speaking for itself. It shows up in the quality of your work, the consistency of your results, the way people feel when they experience what you've built at that point. The silence ends not because you finally speak, but because your results speak for you, and that's the most powerful voice you can have. A voice that echoes through your actions, a voice that can't be faked or fast-tracked, a voice that says, "I didn't just talk about it, I built it. I didn't just promise, I delivered. I didn't just say I would, I did." That's what we should strive for. Not noise, but impact. Not declarations, but demonstrations. Because the world doesn't need more talkers. It needs more builders, more quiet professionals, more focused creators, people who understand that the most meaningful contribution they can make is not in the volume of their voice, but in the value of actions. So when you feel that urge to speak, to post, to announce, pause, ask yourself, am I sharing this because it's ready or because I want reassurance? There's nothing wrong with wanting to be seen. But there's something powerful about choosing to wait until the work is ready to be seen on its own terms. The discipline, silence is not about hiding. It's about preparing. It's about understanding that success is not a performance. It's a process. And the more you commit to that process without distraction, the more powerful your outcome will be. Let your competitors talk. Let them announce their every move. You stay focused. Stay steady. Stay quiet. And when your moment comes, when your work is undeniable and your mission is in motion, then and only then, let it speak. Let it roar. Let it echo louder than words ever could. Because that's the strength of silence. And that's the power of letting your results create the noise we all want to grow. We want to become better, stronger, wiser versions of ourselves, and yet somewhere along the way, our definition of growth got tangled up in performance. We started treating personal development like a public sport, something to be ranked, judged, and broadcast. But real growth doesn't happen on a stage. It happens in the quiet corners of your life where no one else is looking. It happens when you stop performing for the world and start showing up for yourself. Growth is not a competition, and yet we often treat it like one. We scroll through timelines filled with highlight reels and achievements, and without even realizing it. We start comparing, we look at someone else's success and question our own. We measure our progress against someone else's timeline, forgetting that they're running a race we were never meant to be in. But comparison is a thief. It robs us of joy, of focus, of clarity, and most of all, it robs us of presence. The truth is the only person you should ever compete with is who you were yesterday. That's it. That's the measure, not someone else's income, not their accolades, not the number of followers they have. You don't know their story. You don't know what they sacrificed or what they're hiding. All you see is the surface. But your journey, your real meaningful journey, happens below the surface, in the struggle, in the growth, in the discomfort, in the courage it takes to keep going. When no one is clapping, we grow when we choose to stay in the process. Even when the outcome isn't guaranteed, we grow when we stop pretending we have it all together and start being honest with ourselves. That honesty is the foundation of real transformation. Because when we stop lying to ourselves about who we're trying to impress, we start focusing on who we're trying to become. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more honest ones. People who are willing to say, I'm not there yet, but I'm showing up anyway. That's courage, that's growth, that's leadership, and it's rarely glamorous. Often it's messy, it's filled with doubts, setbacks, and quiet mornings where you wonder if it's all worth it. But every time you choose to keep going, every time you show up again and again and again, you build something far more powerful than an image. You build character, and character is something no one can give you. It's something you earn through repetition, through showing up for the hard work, especially when the results are invisible, especially when the progress feels slow, especially when it seems like everyone else is winning faster than you. But here's what most people forget. Growth is not always visible. It's not always something others can see or measure. Sometimes growth looks like staying silent. When you want to lash out, sometimes it looks like walking away. When your pride wants to fight, sometimes it looks like choosing rest over burnout, honesty over approval, and peace over perfection. And none of those things make for a great Instagram post, but they are the signs of someone becoming more whole. Growth doesn't ask for applause, it asks for consistency, asks for humility. It asks you to be more committed to your purpose than your pride. That's why this journey is personal, because no one else can walk it for you. No one else knows what you're carrying. No one else hears the voice in your head when you're deciding whether to give up or go one more round. When you stop seeing growth as a public event, something shifts inside of you. You stop rushing, you stop proving, you start paying attention. You begin to notice the small wins, the moments of clarity, the unexpected patience, the strength to forgive. You stop needing to arrive and start learning how to be, how to live fully in the present. Knowing that progress is being made, even if it's not being seen, and eventually something beautiful happens. You stop comparing entirely, not because the noise disappears, but because your focus gets stronger. You become so tuned into your own growth that someone else's path no longer distracts you. You start to realize that their success doesn't diminish yours. Someone else's progress isn't your problem, that you're not behind, you're just on your own journey. That's where power comes from, not from pretending to have the answers, but from being willing to ask better questions. Not from appearing successful, but from becoming deeply aligned, because when your actions are rooted in your values and your values are rooted in your purpose, comparison becomes irrelevant. You start to realize that it's not about going faster, it's about going deeper, deeper in your work, deeper into your growth, deeper into your truth. And the deeper you go, the more grounded you become. The more grounded you become, the less shaken you are by other people's timelines. This kind of growth doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't trend. It doesn't always come with praise, but it comes with peace. It comes with clarity. It comes with the quiet knowing that you are becoming exactly who you were meant to be, not because someone else said so, but because you feel it, because you chose it so. Stop chasing validation. Stop chasing the illusion Progress, get quiet enough to hear your own voice. Get honest enough to admit where you are, and then get courageous enough to keep going. Even if no one's watching, especially if no one's watching, because in the end, your journey is yours alone. And the greatest success you'll ever experience is becoming in someone you're proud to meet each morning. In the mirror, someone who didn't quit, someone who kept showing up, someone who knew the only person they ever needed to beat was the version of themselves who was too afraid to begin. And every day that you choose to grow a little more, to dig a little deeper, to live a little truer, you win quietly. Personally, powerfully, that's what real growth looks like. And that's enough. There's a quiet kind of integrity that lives in the gap between what we say and what we do. Most people don't notice it, but it's there every time we make a promise to ourselves. Every time we set a goal or speak a dream out loud, we're drawing a line between who we are and who we intend to become. The only thing that bridges that line is action, not ideas, not declarations, not even motivation. Action, and action repeated over time. That's what we call a habit. It's easy to say you want to succeed. It's easy to declare your goals. Anyone can post about their dreams. Anyone can talk about their ambition. Dreams aren't what define you. Habits. Because habits are the evidence, they are the daily proof that you meant what you said, that you didn't just want to be someone, you were willing to become someone when you strip everything else away. That's what discipline is. It's not punishment, it's not perfection, it's alignment. It's the alignment between your intention and your behavior. It's showing up every day, not when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Because what you're building matters more than how you feel in the moment. Most people wait for motivation, but motivation is loud and unreliable, comes and goes. It shows up when the conditions are perfect and disappears when the work gets hard. Discipline is quieter. It's not emotional, it doesn't beg for attention. It's the decision to do what you said you would do, even when no one's clapping. The truth is your life will always rise. Or fall to the level of your habits, not your potential, not your talent, not even your vision. Potential is exciting. Vision inspiring, but only discipline is dependable. And in a world full of noise, distraction, and short-term gratification, your habits are the most honest voice you have. People say they want change, they want results, they want transformation, but then they cling to comfort, they chase hacks and shortcuts, look for ways around the process instead of walking through it. But the process isn't the punishment, it's the pathway. It's what shapes you, what tests you, what teaches you, the kind of patience and resilience that no book or seminar can offer you. Don't become disciplined by accident. You become disciplined by design, by choosing to build systems that support your values, by creating routines that don't just feel good today, but serve who you want to be 5 years from now. Discipline is the daily expression of long-term thinking. It's doing what's right, not what's easy. And when your habits reflect your intentions, people notice, even if you never say a word, because consistency communicates louder than charisma ever could. It tells people I'm serious, I'm committed, I'm trustworthy, and not because I said so, but because I showed you. That's what leadership is. It's not about authority or influence. It's about being an example. It's about setting an example. It's about aligning what you believe with how you live. Because when your actions match your words, trust is built, not just with others, but with yourself. Most people don't realize this, but the most important relationship you'll ever have is with your own word. If you break promises to yourself often enough, you stop believing your own potential. You start to question your worth. You say things like, I'll start tomorrow. And a part of you doesn't even believe it anymore. That's not just a time management issue, that's a trust issue. And the only way to repair it is with follow through. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Wake up when you said you would show up, where you said you would honor your boundaries, prioritize your values, not because someone's watching, but because you are. And when you begin to live in that kind of integrity, when your habits and intentions are in sync, you feel something most people spend their whole lives chasing: peace. Discipline doesn't just change your results. It changes your identity. Every habit, every repeated action, every quiet choice is a vote for the person you're becoming. And the more you cast those votes, the more you begin to believe in that version of you. The more confidence you build, not from praise or validation, but from proof. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently, not because you're pretending to be someone else, but because you've earned the right to be someone else. Someone stronger, someone clearer, someone who didn't just talk about change. They lived it. And here's what's powerful about that kind of discipline: you don't need to announce it. People can feel it. You walk into a room and the way you carry yourself tells a story, not of arrogance, but of alignment. People respect those who clearly live what they believe because that kind of alignment is rare, it's earned, it cannot be faked. So if you want to be trusted, be consistent. If you want to be respected, be reliable. If you want to lead, start with yourself, start with your habits. Let them do the talking, let them be the loudest voice in the room, not because you crave attention, but because attention is an authenticity isn't found in what you say, it's revealed in how you live, in the habits that no one else sees, in the discipline that shapes you long before anyone applauds you. Success is not a moment, it's a pattern built by the invisible choices you make every day. So don't aim to impress. Aim to be aligned, and when your actions echo your intentions, you won't need to talk about what you're building. The results will speak, and they'll say everything you never had to. Let your discipline do the talking. Let your consistency carry the message, and let your habits be the legacy you leave behind. Focus is one of the most misunderstood concepts in our world today. We often think it's about cutting distractions, tuning out noise, or creating the perfect environment, but focus is not just about what you eliminate. It's about what you protect. It's about guarding what matters. It's about deciding what deserves your energy and then giving it without apology or explanation. We're surrounded by people broadcasting everything, what they're doing, who they're becoming, where they're going. But if you look closely, you'll find that the ones who are truly building something meaningful, something lasting, aren't making noise. They're making progress quietly, patiently, relentlessly. They're not asking for permission, applause, or approval. They're just working, and that kind of focus speaks for itself when you're really focused. People start to notice, not because you're telling them to not, because you're pointing it out, but because focus changes how you move, it changes how you speak, it shifts how you carry yourself. There's something magnetic about someone who knows what they're doing and isn't distracted by what everyone else thinks they should be doing. It's not that they're ignoring the world, it's that they've chosen to stop trying to keep up with it, because at some point you realize that the race everyone's running doesn't lead anywhere. You want to go, and once you make peace with that, you start to operate differently. You stop needing to be seen, and you start needing to build. You stop needing to talk, and you start needing to deliver. You stop chasing approval, and you start chasing excellence. There's a deep confidence that grows when you know exactly what you're working on and why it matters. That clarity becomes your fuel. It simplifies decisions. It strengthens your boundaries. It sharpens your daily habits. You wake up not wondering what to do, but knowing exactly what deserves your energy and what doesn't. People may not understand your focus at first. They may question it. They may even criticize it. That's okay, because focus often looks strange to those who haven't yet found theirs. When you stop showing up to every distraction, when you stop entertaining every opinion, people might wonder if something's wrong, but nothing's wrong. In fact, it's the first sign that something very right is happening. You're no longer available for everything because you've committed to something specific. That kind of commitment requires courage. It means saying no more than you say yes. It means doing the boring work while others are looking for shortcuts. It means being misunderstood while others are being celebrated, and means trusting that the outcome will be worth the silence. But here's the beautiful thing. When you focus deeply enough for long enough, results become inevitable. You don't need to push them in people's faces. They arrive, they unfold, and when they do, no one can ignore them, not because you announce it, but because your success grew too big to hide it. Becomes part of who you are, invisible, not just in your achievements, but in your presence, your discipline, and the excellence of your work. That's the reward of sustained focus. You become someone people take seriously, not because you shouted the loudest, but because you built the most, because you stayed the course, because you were so consistent, so intentional, so grounded that eventually the world had no choice but to take notice. We often think success is about talent. It's not, or at least not entirely. Success is about clarity. It's about what you're willing to commit to and what you're willing to walk away from. It's about narrowing your lens so you can go deeper, not wider. And the deeper you go, the stronger your foundation becomes. The stronger your foundation, the higher you can build. But that kind of building doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the quiet, in the early mornings and late nights, in the moments where it would be easier to quit. Easier to scroll, easier to distract yourself. Those moments define you, not because anyone sees them, but because you do. And eventually all those quiet decisions start to show up in your life in loud, undeniable ways. That's why you must protect your focus. You must treat it like a sacred resource, not because anyone sees them, but because you do. And eventually all those quiet decisions start to show up in your life in loud, undeniable ways. That's why you must protect your focus. You must treat it like a sacred resource, because it is not everything deserves your attention. Not every comment requires a response. Not every opportunity is worth your time. Your job is not to do everything. Your job is not to do everything. Your job is to do the right things and do them well. So if they don't understand what you're working on, let them wonder if they ask why you're not around as much. Let them ask if they assume you're being distant or distracted. Let them assume because eventually the work will speak, the results will speak, the growth, the transformation, the undeniable excellence. It will all speak, and when it does, you won't need to say a word. The goal is not to impress people along the way. The goal is to build something so impactful, so aligned, so unshakably real, that when people finally see it, their only question is, how did I miss this? That's what focus does. It doesn't just create success. It creates substance, and substance doesn't fade when the spotlight shifts. It endures. It leads. It inspires. So don't be afraid to go quiet. Don't be afraid to disappear for a while. Don't be afraid to focus so deeply that people forget you exist for a moment. Because when you come back, when the work is done, when the vision is realized, it will be impossible to ignore, and that kind of success is worth waiting for. Stay focused, build quietly, let them wonder, and then when the time is right, let your success